So the game instance is something that we use a little bit throughout the project or the template itself, and it's already set up for you. So you can see here we've got a game instance blueprint class, and in our project settings under maps and modes, we also have our game instance class set here. So VR game instance, and then if we open up the game instance itself, you'll see that there's really not that much in it. I'll cover the loading screen part in a different video, but you'll see how we've got a couple of variables that we're storing. Basically, if you don't know, the game instance stores variables permanently between levels, but once you restart your game, these will be reset. So one of the main ones here that we have is our VR pawn. So if we jump over to our VR pawn blueprint and we open this up, you'll see at the top here, we get a reference. So we cast to our game instance and we set the VR pawn variable. So basically when we start, our game instance knows where our player is and who our player is. And then we set it. So we've got a reference here. And the main reason for this is we can actually use this reference in different blueprints. For example, inside of our player HUD, if we go to UMG and we find our health bar, which I believe is this one right here, we've got our health bar. And you can see here, we cast to our game instance because it's permanent, so we know where it is. And then we can get our VR pawn and we can access the information from this. In this case, we're getting a bind for update player health. So when the player takes damage, it actually updates our HUD to let it know that we're receiving damage. So in our VR pawn, if we scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see that we take damage through our event any damage. And this is from inside of the default Unreal. And at the end here, we have a event dispatcher, which is located in the bottom left here. And what that does is once we take damage, we say our max health was, and then we get our current health. So we get our max health and current health from our game instance as well. So they're stored there for us. And then what that does is it fires our event dispatcher. So anything listening to our player pawn, so for our HUD, for example, we're listening to see if our health has changed. And then if it has, we update our percentage bar, and then we go from there. So that's kind of a way to manage and organize variables, values. So if you need to add content to your project, I recommend adding the values here, and then you can use those as you go. So I just wanted to cover that briefly and show you how it's set up. And another one is our wristwatch, actually. So in our blueprints and wristwatch, we get our game instance when we start, and then we say that our watch is here. And the reason I'm doing that is because we have some UMG notifications or some UMG widget classes that are displayed in here, and I want to have a reference to those so I can actually call them from different places and get a reference to it specifically. So in this case, it's actually used as an example inside of our gun range. So if we open up the gun range spawner, you can see over here, we get our game instance, and then we call our watch, and then we can get access to the actual UMG directly from it to set our score and make it appear on the watch. So that's just one way of actually communicating between different actors, and that way we always know where the reference is. If you don't want the watch, you can actually delete it, but that'll be in another video and it's just crashed, so we will leave it there. Yeah.